位线上的朋友，大家好，欢迎参加2023北京智源大会。今天下午的尖峰对话和特邀报告环节，我们有3个精彩的分享。首先，我们将邀请 Midjourney 创始人 CEO David House 与极客公园创始人张鹏做尖峰对话。接下来，我们还有2个特邀报告，分别由 Meta AI 的研究员刘壮以及 Line 的组织者兼创始人格什托夫舒曼做关于深度学习以及开源模式的报告。在这个环节，继执行运营总监文飞将主持刘壮的报告。下面我们把时间交给 David and Jack 张鹏，他们对话的主题是 AI 与创意、艺术、想象力。好 ，Welcome.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to join our conversation this afternoon to the founder of Midjourney, Mr. David House. And I am Jack Zhang from Geek Park, and I'm very happy to join all of you to explore the fascinating company and also share the views of their founders about creativity in the age of AI. So David, welcome to join us. And I think this is the very first time you talk to your Chinese fans. So would you like to take the opportunity to say hi to them?
Oh, hello. I'm I guess we're not officially in China anyway, but if there's anybody in China using Midjourney, I guess I hope everybody's having fun. I hope everyone's having fun with it.
Yeah, David, in the past 20 years, I have known many entrepreneurs both in China or around the world. And I discovered there are some commonalities about them. They all have strong driving forces to when they creating something wonderful from nothing, right? So that's why I'm wondering, what was your driving force when you first founded Midjourney and what you were looking for at that moment?
Yeah, I mean, I never really wanted to have a company. I kind of just wanted to have a home. And and I guess I kind of made Midjourney as sort of my home to, for the next 10 years or 20 years to build the things that I really care about and that I want to make in the world. I think a lot about like the problems everywhere. And I think a lot about that, that maybe I can't solve every problem, but what I can do is I can try to make people more powerful to solve problems collectively. And so I try to think about how do we solve problems? How do we create things? And I usually think it comes down to 3 things. Like first we have to reflect on who we are, what we want, what the problem is. And then we have to imagine, we have to imagine where we can go, what's possible. And then at the end, we have to coordinate to, work with ourselves, work with others to actually, do the thing that we imagined. And I feel like there's a big opportunity in AI to kind of take these 3 parts of creation and make and create and make sort of significant infrastructure that makes us better at them in ways. Like the AI should be able to help us reflect on ourselves, imagine better, help us find each other and work together better. And I think that if we can do each of those things together, we can bring them into sort of some kind of single framework one day. And I think it'll change how we create things and how we solve problems. And I think that's the big thing I wanted to do. And I think sometimes it can be confusing about the images, but I mean, in many ways, making images is kind of a proof of concept for that. Already Midjourney is kind of this super powered imagination of millions of people exploring this big space of possibility. And, I think in the next few years, there is an opportunity to have more visual and artistic exploration than maybe all prior history combined. Mm-hmm. And I think that doesn't solve all of our problems, but what I think it is it's kind of I think it is a test run. It's an experiment. And I think if we can do that for visual exploration, we can do it for other things too. Also, any problem, any possibility that we need to kind of explore and think about together, I think we can apply similar tools to solve. And so I think that when I was thinking about how to start working on this, we had a lot of ideas, we built a lot of prototypes, but there are certain breakthroughs in AI, particularly around visuals, where there felt like there was this really unique opportunity to make something no one else was making. And I kind of wanted to go for that. So But we all kind of knew, I think, even several years ago that that everything was going to come together to feel really special this decade. And I think we're still only seeing the beginning of that.
So the image is just the first stage. And I think your final goal is about to liberate the imagination for human beings. That's the goal that attract you to found Midjourney, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like imaginative stuff. I like the world to be more imaginative too. Like everything, it's fun to see all the crazy ideas every day. And
I can see that. Yeah. Okay. You know, David, when I think many people like me first know you are not about Midjourney, is about Leap Motion. I got a strong feeling that there may be some connections between, I mean, for you, between these two projects. And maybe in terms of motivations or maybe mindsets, I don't know if I get the right feeling. Feeling is right, but the question I want to ask is: did your experience with Leap Motion help you create Midjourney in any way?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of ways. I learned a lot from Leap about how to kind of do how to do big research teams, how to work on problems no one's worked on before, how to think really deeply about how people interact with technology. Like it's not just the size or the cost or the speed, but how we interact with it. And what we do together often comes from how we interact, and that's really important. It was one of the core ideas of Leap. There's some things that we're doing similar, like Leap was, it went really big, really fast. Like it kind of captured everybody's imagination. I think Midjourney is similar, but I think there are other things that are really different, where with Leap, we spent a lot of time, I think, building an ecosystem really early. And I think back then in Silicon Valley, there was this belief that you should always build an ecosystem first, like the iPhone. But I think we kind of learned collectively that maybe, first you want to build a really good product that regular people really love. And then when you have that done, then you can work on the ecosystem. And I think the ecosystem could be really distracting early on for a lot of entrepreneurs, and it was for me too. And so a big thing that we've done differently is we just really focus on building something that everybody can use. Really regular people, like I think I used to judge myself for Leap. Could I do it with my hands? But like my father was like a surgeon, so he could do. We had good hands. But now, like I think more about like does a truck driver like using Midjourney? And we have some truck drivers who make pictures from the trucks at the truck stops. And like that's kind of cool to me. That means that we like succeeded better.
It's really funny, right? Yeah, we usually said the idea is cheap. Show me the code. But now it seems like the idea is the only thing important. And as long as you can express your idea, your goal to a series of good prompts, and AI can help you. So do you think the definition of learning and creating is changing? What's point of view? Do you have any point of view about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that I've seen that's really interesting is that when you give people more power to create, they also become more interested in learning. Because, for example, there are certain art styles, like Art Deco was a famous thing in America. And I never really cared about what that type of art was until all of a sudden I could make things by just saying the name. And all of a sudden I started to wonder a lot about it. I wanted to learn more about the history. And so I think there's something really interesting, which is that when the history becomes something you can immediately draw upon and creating really easily, we become much more interested in history. And then I think if the user interface gets really good, where it feels like the AI is kind of an extension of my own mind, and if the AI is kind of like part of my body and my mind, and then the AI is also sort of very closely intertwined with history, it also kind of intertwines me with history in this way that's also really interesting. So I think that's been really cool. I see when we ask our users what they want most, one of the number one requests, usually number one, number two, is they want more learning material, not just learning about how to use the tool, but learning about all of art and all of history and all of the, like about camera lenses and lighting. And they want to understand the language and the concepts that they can use now in creation. Because before, I think the knowledge was like just a history, but now the knowledge is actually a power to create things. It becomes very more immediately powerful. And so people want it. And that's really cool.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, in China, you have many spans and they come from different background. They may have different levels of artistic skills. The user like me, and I'm still trying to produce, the better pictures. But I heard many painters, designers, they are worried about they will take place by AI. So what could Midjourney do to help to ensure that everyone was enabled by AI instead of being confused or marginalized?
Yeah, I think for people who haven't sort of started their artistic journey, it gives you a unique opportunity to have that for the first time. You're thinking like, what do I like? What is my aesthetic? What do I find beautiful? And that's like a really, something that you can take a professional artist decades to do. And all of a sudden now this and that everybody can have access to. And we find that people like are deeply reflective. It's almost like art therapy for people. Where they're thinking about their lives, things that are challenging and things that have maybe bad things happened or good things. It's very meaningful. And so I think that most people who use it, I think, are having these personal experiences, and it's not really competitive or commercial. We find that most people who don't use it, they're using it, they're just using it for themselves. They don't even share the pictures. But then I think on a professional level, I think it becomes about amplifying your creative powers. So instead of making like an image, maybe now you can make a comic book or a movie or a video game. And so instead of you're trying to like a single person, like a normal person might be kind of thinking about beauty for the first time in their lives. And then artists now is maybe creating like whole worlds and universes and stories in ways they would have never been able to before. And so I think it kind of increases the scopes of everybody's creative powers. So the regular person has more power and the professional has more power too. And I think it's hard to see it sometimes because right now, a lot of the user interfaces are simple, but there's no reason why the interfaces can't be complicated and powerful and have lots of features. It just, those come a little bit later. But
yeah, maybe it's not just for one picture, one image. AI can help people do more complex job because, in the past, when we talk about creativity, I think there contain many elements inside. Or do you have desire to create? What idea you want to create? And also you need to have the ability to execute it, to make it happen. But maybe sometimes if you can be liberate to the desire to create and the great idea and the complex of the things AI can help you. So maybe that's the power AI can provide for people and not just image, right?
Yeah, it's a very personal process and like reflective. And, we like at first we didn't really know. I mean, I think something we see over and over again. It's just how personal the process is for most people. Like at first I would look at the images and I wouldn't understand what people would be making. Like somebody was asking for a picture of a dog in heaven. And I asked them, why are they making a picture of a dog in heaven? They said it was because their dog just died. And I felt so bad. And I was like, are you okay? And they're like, this is making me feel better. And like, it's sort of, I think it's easy to think that like maybe most people are using it to like for work, but we feel right now almost everybody is using it for almost like an art therapy. Where they're thinking about things, they're reflecting on their lives, trying to figure out who they are. And I think that's just really personal and really important. And it's like something that maybe for most of human history, we didn't have the opportunity to do. Only very few people had the opportunity to do that. I think that's really beautiful being able to do that for everyone now.
Yeah, I think so. It's not just tools for our business or your work. It's a new element for our life. And I think why a Midjourney is fantastic is because of it transmitted a magical technology to 10 millions of people, and only with 20% in your team, I believe. And a couple months before, the number is 11, right? And you don't have sales team, you don't have marketing team, and you have several ungraduate students in your team. So I'm wondering, is that the new paradigm for startup companies in the age of AI?
I think it will be. I think we're a little early. And so I think we had some advantages. Like I had a lot of experience building the teams. I had a good reputation, so I could get a lot of computers to do it early on. And normal startups wouldn't have that. But I think that over the next few years, as people start to learn more about how do you build research teams, as there becomes more and more compute power available for everybody, and as people learn more about what makes a good AI product, I think we're going to see a lot of companies like this. I think we're a little early. I think we're kind of the first one to do that. But I think maybe in 5 years, it'll be very normal. So yeah.
It's a new paradigm.
A little early too. Yeah.
Okay. So do you worried about what Midjourney does today one day will be covered by developing AGI abilities? So what will happen? What is the future of the vertical products like Midjourney?
We don't know. I think that this is a big mystery. I think one way is that we may work with the other labs where like we kind of make the eyes and they make the ears, like we make the different parts and it comes together. That could happen. Like, we're making the imagination and they're making the language parts and we put them together. So we're going to look at that together. I think it's also possible that that there are these sort of AGIs that are okay at everything, but then there are these parts that are sort of specialized, like how in the real world we still have many people who specialize in things. I also think it's possible that like there's a lot of human interface things where maybe it's not just about making a beautiful picture, but it's about helping a person explore who they are and what they want. And that isn't really an AGI thing. It's more of just like a how do you interact with the person thing, I think that the best user interface is if it was just language, then maybe the AGI could ask us questions. But I think that actually the user interface will not be just language. It'll be showing you many images and kind of trying to get to know the person in different ways. And there'll be kind of a whole new art of a new sort of feel, a theory of understanding people and trying to help them figure out what they want. And I just think that, that's something that we haven't figured out yet. I guess an AGI could do anything, but I also think that like it's possible that like that there'll just be a lot of specialization still, I think, in the future.
So do you think Midjourney will always be like a vertical product, or it can be something universal? You can solve the problem because you already said your mission is to liberate imagination for human beings. It's not necessarily just about pictures, images. Yeah,
I think there's definitely like some interesting things we're doing around community, where it's like, how do you get a community of people together to explore a big space of possibilities? I think that we're kind of trying to create this thing where this Midjourney space in the next year or two may be like the place where almost all the visual exploration of the world is happening. And so I think there's really interesting, and I think like even if we never did anything else, if we were just the place in the world where all visual exploration happened, I think that would be a business. But I think that whatever we do with visual exploration will be applicable to other fields. And I think kind of trying to create these sort of super minds of millions of people working together to solve something is really interesting. I don't think any one AI will replace the millions of people. I think maybe there will be AIs involved. Maybe it'll be millions of people and millions of AIs working together. But I think there's going to be many agents and many parties. And I think it's important. It's part of somehow it helps to have all the perspectives and everyone being a little different, I think helps to figure things out.
Many entrepreneurs, many startup companies, we call that the AI doers. They think this question a lot because they are afraid of being covered by the new technology, which we all see the technology are still evolving very rapidly. It's not stable yet. So your suggestion is to find something valuable or find some problem worth to solve, and you keep focus, and in the meantime to keep an open mind. Is that your advice?
I think so. I mean, I think also I like to think that even if we make like AGIs that are sort of like people, I think they're still going to kind of live in a society with us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, one thing you can work on is you can work on creating like this sort of AI people, but you can also try to work on societies too. Like, what does a society look like of lots of people and lots of AIs, and how do we work together and think together and explore? And I think that's a big part of what we're doing when we try to have everybody explore things together with visuals right now. In some ways, it's very primitive, but in other ways, it's maybe like the best way to test it, because you can see everything. You can literally see it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if we were doing it with poetry, I think it would be just as interesting, but kind of harder to understand, or if we were doing it with like engines or any other kind of science, you wouldn't be able to, like, a million scientists would be all the scientists in the world, but a million people making pictures, it's easy to find. So you can kind of test it already, and so I think we think more about the, what do these sort of societies of mind look like?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think right now it's mostly humans working with AIs, but I think in the future it'll be AIs and humans all brainstorming together.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be really interesting. And maybe at some point we won't even know, like, was it our idea? Was it the AI's idea? Like,
it doesn't matter,
it
right?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Of course, there are many recent concerns about AI safety and some competitions at many levels. At the same time, there also remains challenges ahead in continuing to scale and improve current large models. So how do you see future development of the AI field? And is there a way balance the different perspectives and maybe even different governments, such as China and US?
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I mean, I think there's like, first off, I think people are sometimes a little too competitive. I think maybe it's one of our I think that's a Western weakness. And I think that there's so many opportunities.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's maybe not worth being competitive. Like, I don't think about the competitive thing. I just try to make the most beautiful, awesome things I can make. And I think in many ways, like, there's as many opportunities as there are like problems and challenges in the world. And I think there's a lot of things in the world, a lot of challenges in the world to work on. I don't know. I guess yeah. And I mean, I think that I think in some ways, I think it was always nice in China when I was there, is everyone's always like, there's a sense of collaboration and unity. And I think in some ways, like, that aligns more with AI, where it's sort of a much more communal thing, where it learns from all of us. And then it kind of gives us all of these powers that it learned from us back. Like, it learns from all of our history of visual stuff, and now it's giving everybody visual powers. It's like very communal, it's very collaborative. And like the sort of the competitiveness, I think, is in some, and sometimes even saying like, I want to be the best at something, is in some ways, I think, maybe against the nature of the technology itself, which is, and so I think there's a lot that the US could learn, from that, like from the East there. And I think there's also maybe, I think out here, it's very normal to maybe be like, not just scared of technology, but almost just scared of intelligence. Like, they're smart. Can I trust them? But then, I mean, on the flip side, it seems like we want the world to have as much intelligence as possible. It seems like we don't want a world with less intelligence. We want a world with more intelligence, because it's like how we build and solve everything, And so I think that there's something that I feel like is, in America, if you're like too smart, you're like a nerd, and then people bully you. Where it feels like in China, if you're smart, you're like cool, and everyone wants to be smart.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And so for Americans, it's very unusual. They don't understand. Like, it's sort of like, there's, I think, in a lot of ways, like,
Yeah.
Maybe it helped that and I think one of the reasons why maybe AI started out here was because it looked like it wasn't going to work. And so there had to be somebody here who was like, I don't care what anybody thinks, it will work. But now in some ways that we know it works, it's about like actually working together and just trying to give everybody all the infrastructure and all the powers and trying to build societies. And, in a lot of ways, like, I think we're a lot less unified out here and a lot less, desiring of intelligence, like trying to than the East is. And I think there's a lot to learn from each other. I'm very positive about like all of that stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I get
I love
your
all that
point.
stuff.
Yeah, it's not necessary. I mean, maybe it's not necessarily. China and US have to be separate AI systems, and the innovators between China and US can link together to create something wonderful. Yeah, I deeply hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's sort of, there's a big global economy that's been good for everybody. So it's like, if we make AI, it's going to kind of move around the economy the same way like us. It's either going to be like people or like products or objects. It seems like it just ties us together and we're learning more from each other. Like it feels good. I think when people try to be adversarial about it, I think it's like almost anti-human. I don't know. I feel like it doesn't seem worth, like it seems like we just want to make everything awesome. I don't know. I'm very collaborative. I think maybe it's a little unusual out here. I mean, I feel like, why is David so collaborative? I'm like, that's because like I like people. And we're building things for people. I think that's because we love people too. And that's like maybe one of the things that distinguishes us is that we're always making things that people like. I think it's because we really love people. I don't know. There's something there. I'm not gonna. There's too many things to say. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, David, I think we only have time for the last question. If we look ahead for the digital world 10 years from now, is there anything you can foresee that it will definitely change? Would you like to share your vision with us?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think a single person in 10 years will be sort of more creatively powerful than maybe any number of people today. But I think that collectively, all of those people coming together with each sort of that sort of brilliance, like we'll be able to do things that we couldn't imagine at all. And I think that like these powers will create a world filled with beauty in a way that I don't know, that makes me feel like it's right, and then I think that like I don't know, I think there's something, and I think somehow together, like I think that beauty will somehow intertwine us together and connect us, and I think like help us in some ways not be like afraid of this future, but much more excited for it. I think sometimes we feel beauty because otherwise we would be afraid.
Yeah, I like that.
Really powerful.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
it's this unimaginable, huge future ahead of us, and in some ways, like to fill it with beauty and to think about the beauty is the best way I think to make the right thing in it. I don't know. There's something there. I don't think I can fully. I don't think I understand it, but it feels right.
Yeah. And actually, I think there are many of my friends in Shenzhen still remember you when you worked with Live Motion, and sometimes maybe visit China, and we can continue our conversation. And I think I totally agree with you. There's a future ahead, and there are many good things will happen, but we should consider there are some bad things that we need to prevent them to happen, right? So thank you, David, for your very inspiring 30 minutes. And thank you everyone to join us this afternoon, and hope everyone have something to take away. And okay, this is Jack and David. We are signing off.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack.
非常感谢智研研究院的组织和邀约，然后我是机器之心的副主编兼运营总监文飞，很荣幸呢主持接下来的环节，是 Meta AI 的研究员刘壮博士带来的演讲。刘壮博士呢，他是在 UC Berkeley 取得了电气工程与计算机科学的博士学位，本科毕业于清华大学的姚班。他的研究重点是准确和高效的深度学习架构或方法，对开发简单的方法或研究基线方法特别感兴趣。他也是 DenseNet 和 ConveyNext 两个广泛使用的视觉模型的作者。今天，刘壮博士将为我们带来高效深度学习方面的最新进展，关于 Dropout 和减脂大模型的研究。需要说明的是，本次 talk 没有 QA， 如果您对 talk 有疑问，或者希望与刘壮博士进一步交流，可以邮件联系他。刘壮博士的邮箱呢，将会在 talk 的最后给出。那么接下来就交给刘壮博士。您听到了吗？
谢谢文飞老师。
好的。
好的。大家好，我是来自于 Meta AI 的刘壮。今天非常荣幸跟大家可以分享一些最近的关于 efficient deep learning 的一些工作。关于我们最近关于一些 Dropout 的最新发现和一些对于大语言模型减脂的研究。Dropout regularization 是一个已经提出10余年的方法。它的基本操作其实非常简单，就是在模型训练的过程中，我随机的去挑选一些神经元 neurons， 将它们的输出至0，然后通过这样的随机的方法，希望能够减少这个模型的 overfitting。Dropout 的提出是是和 AlexNet 在于同一年，然后这也其实不是一个巧合，因为 AlexNet 的成功以及后续带来的深度学习的这样一个浪潮，其实 Dropout 其实是居功至伟，通过这样一种在当时来看非常 novel 的一种减少模型 overfitting 的方法，能够成功的将一个庞大 AlexNet 在 image 上训练得很成功。然后它也是很少的这样一个非常简单，但是又经过时间检验大浪淘沙留下来的这样一个技术，在非常recent 的工作，比如说 AlphaFold Protein Prediction 或者是DALL-E 2的 Image Generation 中，其实都还有 Dropout 的方法的使用。从另一方面，我们来看一下 Dropout 有一个很重要的超参数，就是 Dropout 的这个比例，也称为 Dropout rate。在刚刚提出的论文中，它是用和 AlexNet 这个网络中，它是用一个0.5这样一个 rate， 也就是说有一半的内容会被随机的至0，然后在后续的 GoogleNet 和 VGNet 也是0.5。但是在最近几年中呢，Dropout rate 其实越来越低的，最近那些工作往往都降低到0.1或者甚至是0，不使用 Dropout。对于这样一个现象呢，我们的假设是，现在随着self-supervised learning 自监督学习的方法的成熟，还有这些在计算机视觉中广泛使用的 data augmentation 方法，其实 overfitting 对现在的模型来说，比在10年前的模型来说，其实是一个更小的问题。因为当数据足够大，数据被增强的足够充分，其实想让一个模型去 fit 到这么多的数据中，其实有一定难度的。然后我们可以来重新回顾一下 overfitting 和 underfitting 的概念。overfitting 一般是指当一个模型非常大，但是你提供的训练数据集非常小。这个在10年前 AlexNet 可以说是一种这样的情况。AlexNet 其实是一个非常大的参数来说是一个非常大的模型，这样子可以模型会容易 overfitting。反过来说，当一个模型比较小，但是数据无穷大或者几乎无穷大的时候，这时候它的问题可能是反过来的，就是说这个小模型不能够很好的去拟合如此多的 data， 所以它还是有这个更潜在的学习到更好的空间。所以这种情况一般有另一个名词，我们称之为 underfitting。然后对于现在的发展趋势来说，其实以后 underfitting 有可能是其实会比 overfitting 成为一个更广泛的问题，因为数据是可以说是以一个非常快速的速度在产生，然后它们可以在世界的任何角落都存在于一些有用的数据，去把它收集起来其实非常难的。但是另外一方面来说，所有的模型，不管你多大的模型，你最终还是需要在一个仪器或者是一个 data center 中运行。这个它是一个物理空间受限的一个模式，所以来说即使这样的 foundation models， 他们可能对于现在如此多的 data 其实也可能是一个 underfitting 过于 overfitting 的状态。在这样的一个发展趋势下，以及这样Dropout 的这个作为一个 reduce overfitting 的方法，是不是对以后的这个模型的训练还会继续有useful 呢？今天介绍的工作就会从一个很有意思的视角来回答这个问题。我们先对于有 Dropout 参与的model 训练做一个训练dynamics 一个非常简单的分析。我们先看一下有没有 Dropout 对于模型产生的这个梯度的大小的影响。然后我们这里比较一个 baseline model， 一个 VIT 很小的 model， 它没有任何的 Dropout， 另外一个是 Dropout 的 model。我们发现在训练的初期，其实使用了 Dropout model 对于这个模型产生的梯度大小其实是一个降低的作用。但是反过来说，如果你把这些梯度累积起来，通过一些 momentum 和一些这个线性相加累积起来，我去衡量这个 model 在 parameter space 参数空间中移动距离，我们发现它的趋势是相反的。当你每一步走的都比较小，但是你合起来走的比较远，这样的我们的基础假设就是说，它走这个 gradient update 的步数其实是更加一致的。也就是说，我们观察到 Dropout， 我们猜想 Dropout 可能是让这个梯度的更新方向更加一致。然后我们定义了这样一个概念，叫 gradient direction variance， 就是我取一个模型的 checkpoint， 然后我去用不同的 SGD 的 mini batch 去测它的梯度，然后我们把这个梯度看一下这个梯度的方向有多大的 variance， 就说这个梯度方向一致性如何。这个数学公式就是一个平均的一个 cosine distance， 其实非常简单。然后我们发现呢，确实 Dropout 的 model 在训练的早期其实是对这个梯度方向的 variance 是有个减弱的作用的。可以看到这张图上，在0到1000个 iteration 之间，有 Dropout 的 model， 它的梯度的方向是更加一致的，也就是它的 variance 更小。但是梯度方向一致不代表它更新的方向是一个正确的方向。对于 SGD 来说，什么是它的一个正确的方向呢？其实 SGD 最初的初心是想去 estimate 整个数据集的梯度，但是整个数据集梯度显然放在内存里，这个是放不下的，然后计算量也会特别大，然后我们就用 SGD 方式来去用每个 sample 一个 mini batch 的梯度来去试图去衡量整个数据集的梯度。然后这个时候我们就看一下有 Dropout 的 model 是不是它每一个梯度离它真实的这个全数据集的梯度是更加接近的。这样我们就定义了一个所谓的 ground truth gradient， 也就是对于我们分析来说，我们可以把整个数据集都做一次 forward backward， 然后来得到一个这样的 ground truth gradient。我们去衡量这有没有 Dropout model 对于 mini batch gradient 和 ground truth gradient 它们俩的距离影响如何。我们发现呢 Dropout 确实在早期的模型更新当中可能会让这个 gradient error， 也就是说 mini batch gradient 和整个数据集的 gradient 的距离会降低。这就意味着 Dropout 在训练早期是有可能能让 SGD 的梯度更加接近整个数据集的梯度，这样的话是利于它对于整个数据集的 training loss 的一个 optimization 的，而不是可能大家以前设想 Dropout 其实是对于一个 training 梯度起到一个扰乱的作用，但是我们发现其实在训练早期可能它起到一个更加对齐的作用，而不是一个扰乱的作用。这样一个图我们希望能够 illustrate 这样一个刚刚这样一个分析的过程，就是说如果没有 Dropout， 这每个黑色箭头是每个 mini batch 的 gradient， 它可能是更加的variance 更大，方向可能更加不同。如果有 Dropout， 它方向更加相同，尽管它的每一个 update 的这个规模可能会更小，但是它和真正的全数据集gradient 的角度也可能更小。这样的话，其实有利于它去 optimize 在整个 training set 上的一个 training loss。然后我们基于这些观察呢，我们提出我们的一个非常简单的 Dropout 的一个我觉得甚至不能说是变种吧，就是一个使用方法。我们之前的分析就说明了 Dropout 在训练早期是有这个潜力去帮助这个 model 在 training set 上做 optimization 的。就我们这里不考虑任何的 generalization 的意识，我们只考虑它在 training set 上的 optimization。 我们从刚刚的发现，我们发现Dropout 早期其实是帮助你去更好的，有可能可以帮助你一个 model 去更好的优化 training set 上的 loss。所以对于 underfitting 的 model 来说，他们其实需要更好的 optimization， 更好的去优化这个 training loss 的。所以我们提出一个 early dropout 的方法，也就是说只在训练早期使用 dropout， 然后训练的后期关掉这个 dropout， 用正常的对于小 model 的训练法来训练。然后对于 overfitting model 呢，我们就做一个对称的方法，也就是说训练早期不用 dropout， 我们不需要做太多的 optimization， 然后对于训练后期用 dropout， 对于一个 overfitting model， 做一个正常的 regularization。这张 slide 就是我们提出的方法，其实非常的简单。然后我们做了一些对于一些比较recent 的计算机视觉模型和 ImageNet 做了一些实验。左边是在 early dropout 上面，我们选取了比较小的模型 VIT Tiny 或者 Mixer Small、Connext Femto、Swing Femto 这样一个参数在5个 million 左右的这样一个非常小的模型。他们的正常的 training 是不用 dropout 或者一个 dropout 的变种叫做 stochastic depth 的。但是我们发现呢，如果你用正常的 standard 的 dropout 的方法，它的 accuracy 是下降很多的 ，training loss 也会上升，因为这是一个 dropout expected 的一个 behavior， 就是它会增加 regularization。但是如果仅在 early 阶段使用 dropout， 我们会发现它的 accuracy 是可以上升的，然后最终的 training loss 是下降的，就是说 early dropout 是对于它做 optimization 是有帮助的。右边呢是一个对称方法，就是 late dropout 的一个可以看到我们这里选取了不同的 model。VIT base 和 Mixer base 这些是处于一个 overfitting 范围的 model， 因为它们本身就使用了 dropout 或者是 SD， 也就是 stochastic depth 这样一个 dropout 变种的 regularization 方法。我们做的就是说，我不从训练从头到尾都使用 dropout 或者 SD， 我们只在训练的后期大半部分时间使用 dropout， 我们可以发现它的accuracy 也是提升的，它的 generalization 变得更好了。虽然它的 training loss 倒是不一定上升了很多，或者 training loss 基本持平，但是generalization 会提高。然后这是一个 early dropout 和一个不用 dropout model 的一个 training curve 的比较，可以看到比较有意思的是，只有当 early dropout 这个虚线是 training loss， 当 early dropout 结束的时候，这个 early dropout 的 model 它的 training loss 才下降到baseline 以下，它的 accuracy 也是上升到baseline 以上，所以这还是一个非常有意思的研究。也就是说，它并不是一个贪心的方法，能够我尽快的就去 optimize 我的 training loss， 而是说我通过跟整个训练集的gradient更加 align， 它可以在训练后期找到一个更好的这样一个 local optimum。然后对于这个过去工作可以进行一个总结，就是说 early dropout 有一个非常令我们 surprise 的 effect， 就是说它不光可以 help generalization， 它也可以 help optimization 本身，也就是说我在训练数据上训练更好，这对这些 underfitting model 是非常有用的。第二呢，就是说dropout 是个非常简单也非常简陋的方法，但我们发现对它进行一些非常简单的改动，它居然会有一些不同的用法，然后也是非常的有效。然后最后一个，我觉得这个工作给我很大的启发，就是即使对于 dropout 这样非常简单、非常看起来已经研究透的一个方法，其实它还有很多我们不知道的一些东西，所以未来还有更多的机会可以探索。这个工作我们已经被 SML 接受，然后 code 和 archive paper 都是available 的。然后刚刚我们讨论的是关于小 model 的 training， 也就是 underfitting model 可以用early dropout 让它训练更好。然后我们接下来当然讨论一下对于超级大的模型 large language models 有没有方法可以让对他们的 efficiency 做一些优化。大家都知道这个大语言模型有 billions of parameters， 然后训练起来也是需要特别大的计算资源。比如说Meta AI release 这个最小的一个大语言模型 Llama 都有7个 billion 的 parameters， 需要28GB 的 GPU memory， 即使用 half precision 去 load 它。但与此同时呢 ，Google 的 PaLM 2是 在这个基础上又大100倍左右。GPT-4呢，我们也不知道它有多大。对于这样模型压缩这样一个问题呢，在前 LLM 时代有2个主流的方法加足，一个是 model quantization， 也就是说我将 weights 变成一个 low bits representation， 可以节省存储空间，也可以加速通过特殊的这个软硬件的 library 可以加速它的推理和训练时间。第2个就是所谓的 pruning 减脂，我希望能够找出一些不那么重要的权重，然后把它们的给去掉，从而减少它的参数量。对于 LLMs 来说，目前来看，似乎更多的这个研究的 effort 是集中在 quantization 这类方法上。我们认为这样一个趋势可能原因是 pruning 它一般来说是需要 pruning 一般减脂完一般是需要继续进行一些 training， 但是对于大言模型来说，很多时候这个 data 是不 available 的，即使 data 你知道它是用什么 data 做 pre-train 的，它这个 train 的 compute 可能也是一般的研究团队可能不会去做的一件事情，或者说难以 afford 的一件事情。然后除此之外呢，我们再看一下这个所谓的 magnitude pruning 这样一个减脂非常简单也非常有效的一个减脂方法，其实是在2015年就被相关研究者提出。它的其实也非常简单，就是我将网络的模型从大到小排个序，然后可能是在每一层或者是整个网络，然后把那些绝对值靠近0的 weights 给它去掉。这样一个简单的方法，其实经过这么多年 pruning 研究，可能还是很难有一个方法说我一定可以打败这个方法。然后这个方法的好处，当然一个很简单，第2个它不需要任何的 data， 我只需要对权重有这样一个排序就可以。第3个也就是说，这样简单方法其实可以达到一个很高的 sparsity levels， 尤其是当模型本身就有一些冗余的时候，比如说 AlexNet 这样一个很早的一个参数很冗余的方法，一个模型可以达到80%-90%的 sparsity level 都没有问题。这是一个非常简单的对于 magnitude pruning 的一个演示 illustration。就假如我有个位矩阵，我就当然这里是整数，是为了简单一些，我就把其中，比如说我要prune掉1半的 weights， 我把其中比较靠近0的那一些选出来，蓝色的标成蓝色，然后把它设成0就可以了。这样一个简单的方法在 computer vision research 中其实效果非常好。比如说我们这里看到 ComNext 是一个非常新的一个计算机视觉 model， 可以认为它的参数的参数利用已经是非常 efficient。但是使用这样一个很简单的 magnitude pruning 方法，我们仍然可以 prune 掉50%的 weight， 然后 accuracy 只降1点几左右。但是同样的结论在 large language model 中就不完全适用。比如说我们对于这个 Llama 7B 的参数，其实 ComNext 这里 ComNext 的参数的应该是100倍左右，但是它冗余性却看上去不是很高，因为假如我 prune 掉1半的参数，它的 perplexity 也就是它预测下一个词的 error 会上升很多。我们可以看到 LLMs 可能有些它特殊的属性，让这个简单的 magnitude pruning 不是能够直接用到在上面。然后我们注意到有这样一个关于模型 quantization 的一个研究，它有一个 observation， 就是说当 large language model 的scale 超过一个范围时，超过一个 threshold 时，有些 feature 就会有非常大的 magnitude。然后这些 feature 呢，因为它 magnitude 的大，它对这个 LLM 的最终 performance 影响也是超乎寻常的大。如果你一定要去掉一些features， 去掉这些 features 会导致你这 perplexity 直接 exploding 如果你随机的去掉 features 来相比的话，然后我们可以考虑这样一个非常简单的 case， 一个最简单的 linear 一个神经网络层有2个 input 都是 scalar。如果我们假设W1 是比 W2 的绝对值小，假设我们用 magnitude pruning， 那它永远会 prune 掉 W1。这样一个选择是一个很正确的选择，很合理的选择。当 X1 和 X2 的这个magnitude 差不多的时候，因为 那样的话 W1 如果它的觉值小，那它对最终结果影响就比较小。但是如果 X1 和 X2 本身它的 magnitude 又 differ 很多的话，这样如果只做 magnitude pruning 可能会有些问题，比如说 W1 小于 W2，但是 X2但是 X1 又远远大于 X2，这个时候可能你 prune 掉 W2 反而是更加明智的，因为 W1 乘 X1 和 W2 乘 X2这两个 term 的大小关系不一定是和 W1 和 W2 大小关系一致的。所以这里我们就揭示了一个通过最简单的 example 揭示了简单的 magnitude pruning，它其实并不考虑我的 input 的这个 magnitude 的大小。但是 input 本身它是和 weight 乘起来，我贡献到 output 上面，所以它本身也是对 output 有非常大的贡献，可以说不比 weight 小。所以我们这个工作我们就提出把 input 也就是 x 和 weight 它的大小都考虑进来，作为一个 pruning 的一个标准，而不是只考虑 weight。其实它的方法也非常简单，就是我将 weight 和它对应的 input 乘起来，作为这个 weight 的重要性的衡量。当然这里因为它一般来说 input 是一个 batch 或者是一个或者说是很多 token， 所以我们这要取个 L2 norm， 让 x 还是作为一个标量存在。然后这样的话我们就得到一个新的 pruning weights， 其实非常简单，就是将之前的 magnitude pruning 乘上它相对应的 input 的 scale。然后我们的方法，因为它同时考虑到 weights 和 input activations， 我们叫它 weights and activations， 或者叫 Wanda。它有几个好处，就是说，首先它非常简单，它继承了 magnitude pruning 在 pre-LLM 时代的这样一个 simplicity。第二，它计算也非常 straightforward，只要做一个 forward pass， 所有的数据，所有的这个 metric 都会很简单计算出来。第三呢，也就是说它考虑到同时这个权重和 input 的大小，可以更好的去 inform 这个权重对于 output 的影响程度。这里是一个 illustration。假如我的 weight matrix 是这样一个matrix， 我和对应的 x 每个 matrix 我不仅仅按照 weight 本身的大小来排序，而是 weight 和 x 这样每行做一个 element wise 乘积之后，我去考虑我该 prune 哪些 weights。像这种情况的话，我就 prune 这些蓝色的 weights。这样当然这里我是因为它是每一行来单独来看，这样我们接下来会说，就是说对于一个 weight matrix， 因为它每一行其实对应了一个 output 的 feature 的，然后我们这里做的是，我们只在每一行内部比较这个 S 这个 pruning matrix 的大小，然后比如说当总的 sparsity 是 50% 的时候，我们只在每一行内部去做这个比较，然后去 prune 小于 50% 的那一部分的 metric。为什么这样做？因为 empirically 这样一个比较 fine grain 的这个比较 metric 的这样一个 space， 在 LLM 上发现是非常重要的一个考量。对pruning LLM 来说，我们必须使用这样一个 fine grain 的这个所谓的 row wise 或者 output wise 的这样一个 pruning， 否则的话，如果我们对一个整个层来比较的话，它的结果会差非常多。然后这是我们一个方法的一个 overview。W 和 X 做 row wise element 乘积，当 X 是一个 batch 的时候，我们就对每一列取一个 norm 之后再做乘积，然后对于乘完之后，在每一行我去掉比较小的S 对应的那些 W 的值。还有一个就是我们的方法非常容易可以 extend 到所谓的 structured NM sparsity， 这是一种可以支持硬件实际加速的 sparsity。具体的细节我们就不再多说了，但是我们的 metric 是很容易extend 到这种情况下。然后我们最后来简单看一下结果。可以看到 Wanda 比 magnitude pruning 在不同 llama model 上，它的 perplexity 都有非常大的提升。一般都 reduce 超过1倍以上，尤其是对于比较小的perplexity，对于比较小的 model magnitude pruning 可能这个 sparsity level 会非常高，让它 perplexity 非常大。第二呢，我们跟一个比较recent 的另外一个 pruning large language model 的方法比较，也就是 Sparse GPT。这个方法也是今年提出的，但是它是一个 second order 的方法，它计算 metric 的过程需要跟这个 feature 的 dimension 的3次方式成正比的，然后它计算完之后还要做一个 weight update，也就是说不是 pruning 完之后这些 weights 就可以直接拿来去做这个 inference。我们看到我们的方法是简单非常多，但是我们的在大部分情况下 perplexity 还是稍微有些胜出。最后我们可以看一下这个 Wanda 和 Sparse GPT 在 pruning 时间速度上的比较，可以看到 Sparse GPT 需要几百秒或者是1000多秒、几十分钟这样的，同时 Wanda 只需要不到1秒或者是几秒的时间去做Llama 65B 的这个 pruning 的完成，可以看到它是一个非常快的过程。如果你想有一个大 model，你想临时的 prune 成一个小 model 然后去做 inference 的话，用 Wanda 是一个非常好的选择。然后一些讨论通过我们这个方法，我们可以发现 large language models 是有所谓 exact 的这样一个 sparse networks， 也就是说它不需要做 retraining 或者说weight update， 像 sparse GPT 一样，我就是直接从我训练好的 weight 中取一个 subset， 它就能 work 得很好。问题就在于这个 subset 怎么选。然后我们的 Wanda 这个 metric 是一个非常简单，然后非常快速，但是同时也非常 competitive 的 method。然后这样一个方法的存在也揭示了，对于 large language model 来说 ，pruning without retraining 是可行的，虽然它 perplexity 仍然有一定的下降。如果可以 afford 继续的 fine tuning 的话，我们其实发现，接下来的 retraining 其实还是可以提升它的 perplexity。我们的论文里有一些用 LoRa 进行 fine tuning 的实验。然后最后这个 paper 还没有放出来，但是最近的几天我们就会 release 出去。然后关于以上 presentation 如果有任何疑问的话，欢迎邮件和大家一起讨论。好，谢谢大家。好的。
好的。Hi, Crystal. You there?
Hello.
Okay.
Do you hear
So
me?
in the beginning, I will firstly give a real short introduction about yourself in Chinese, because most of our audiences are Chinese. And then you can start the talk. And then I will ask like 4 to 5 questions from the standing of BAI. And after that, we welcome questions from all of our audiences. Is that good?
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay, cool. So let's start now. 那么今天的话，下午2点到3点的环节，我们非常荣幸的请到了来自德国的 Christoph Schumann。那么熟悉开源社区的朋友们应该都对他有所了解。那他的话是现任非营利组织 Lion 的创始人兼负责人。就是 Lion 大家应该也都听过，他们的 Lion 5B 数据集已经被很多模型所应用。那么他个人的话呢是维也纳大学物理与计算机科学硕士，他的代表工作就是刚才所说的 Lion 5B 数据集，以及开源 ChatGPT 项目 Open Assistant 等等。那今天的话，我们邀请到他，也想让他多聊一聊关于开源数据集以及如何组织像 Lion 这么的一个庞大的一个跨国组织的一个经历吧。然后下面的话，我们有请Crystal。Okay, we can start the presentation now.
Yeah, okay. Do you have the presentation on your device or should I show it?
大点声儿，它是you can share the screen now. We can start the speech. 声音大一点，太小了，他的声音大一点，他说话声小。
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, yes, we can see your screen now. You can start now.
Okay. Hello, my name is Christoph Schumann. I am one of the co-founders of LION. LION stands for Large Scale AI Open Network. And I will talk today about our organization, our history, and
Christoph,
the future.
can you open the camera so that we can see you? We can see
I
you.
think-
At the meantime, we can see the screen. Open
I
it, maybe
think-
open it above the camera. Yes, yes.
I think when I switch over to PowerPoint, then the camera goes automatically off. So now when I go back to PowerPoint, then the camera goes off. I mean, whatever, I can do it without PowerPoint. Can you see me now again?
We can see you now, but we cannot see the PowerPoint. Like, it's not at the meantime.
Yeah, probably my iPad switches off the camera automatically when I go over to PowerPoint.
It can be at the same time. Okay. How about this? During your talk, we see the screen, and after that, when I ask question, and you open up the camera. Is that okay? Okay.
Okay.
Good. 行，
Okay.
那先这样吧。就是他讲的时候先放 PPT， 然后那个讲完了再给他切画面就行。
Okay, is this good? Can you see the screen?
Yes, yes, we can see the screen. You can start now, normally.
Okay, great. So yeah, as I said, I'm Christoph. I am one of the founders of LION. LION stands for Large Scale AI Open Network. And we are a non-profit. We are registered in Germany, but we have members from all over the world. And we are basically dedicated to building open source data sets and open source AI, recently with focus on foundation models, because this became like really hot, like the hot word, the hot topic. But our main goal is to make state-of-the-art AI accessible to basically everyone for free, completely open. So in our perspective, like in general, open sourcing AI is similar to open sourcing the ability to solve problems. In our world, AI is increasingly important because everyone uses computers or smartphones, and like we had been started by basically like just people who were seeing how cool AI can be, and we wanted to make it available for the general public. So we found ourselves in chat groups on Discord. And we were discussing at the beginning, how could we make, for example, DALL-E 1, the first text-to-image model, how can we make it accessible to the general public? So we have been talking about how can we get text-image pairs from the internet, and how can we build open source data sets. At the same time, we have been discussing how can we get open source training code, and where could we get compute for this. And my initial idea was to build an image text dataset, because DALL-E 1, this was like the first text to image model 2 years ago that was capable of drawing really cool images, like not so high resolution as today, but it was like, for me, a realization, wow, this begins really to work. So we have been discussing how can we get around like 200, 300, 400 million image text pairs, because DALL-E 1 was trained on 250 million image text pairs. And the first clip model released by OpenAI was trained on 400 million image text pairs. And back at this time, we were just like, is this even possible? Because the biggest openly available data sets at the time have been conceptual captions. There was a 3 million image text per version, and there was a 12 million image text per version. And yeah, like we have been thinking, can we just go to archives like Common Crawl, for example? Common Crawl is another organization from the USA. They scrape the internet, they go to different web pages and download the HTML source code, basically the raw code of the website, and they save it. And every 2-3 months, they release around 200-300 terabyte of compressed HTML, so that researchers can just download it in small chunks of 1 gigabyte and then use it to analyze the web. And I knew about this, and I was thinking maybe we can just download small portions of Common Crawl and filter out the image and the text pairs, not the images itself, because the image links, there are only links in Common Crawl. So we have to filter out the links. Then we have to check, are there text descriptions for the links in the HTML? And if we have candidate text descriptions, like the alternative text, then we could use the first version of Clip that has been open source at this time, like 2021. At the beginning, they released an open source version of Clip. So I was thinking, okay, we can use the existing Clip and check how well does the image content fit to the text description that is adjacent. And this is basically what I did. I coded the first version in my free time. So to my background, I'm not a full-time researcher. I'm a computer science teacher, high school teacher. At this time, I was just like super curious about how could this technology be open source in the future. And when I was like basically with my laptop on the playground, I just took the laptop and I just coded the first version to get the image links and the alternative texts, then download the images and check with the existing Clip model how well do image links, the content of the image links and the text fit together. And if they fit decently good together, I saved them. And if not, I deleted the links. So this was the first version that I coded. And I had this running on one virtual machine, one small virtual machine from Google Colab for free, basically. And then I thought, okay, how can I get more of them? So I got more from people in the community who had some small virtual machines from their work. They told me, yeah, I'm not using it at the moment. You can use it. Here are some access keys. And I asked around in the Discord community, can someone help me to write script to coordinate a swarm of small virtual machines? If I have like many small virtual machines that are filtering the internet from Common Crawl, so I get Common Crawl, I get from Common Crawl the image links and candidate captions. I use the existing Clip model to compare the images and the candidate texts, and I only keep good image text pairs. And I have been doing this on several small virtual machines. And yeah, I asked around who can help me to write a swarm management system. And then someone came and said, yeah, I'm a student from UK, I can help you with this. And he wrote a coordination software. And then we just scaled it up, like just as a hobby. And after a few weeks, we had 3 million image text pairs of good quality. And this was more than the very well-known conceptual captions dataset from Google at this time. And suddenly other people from the Discord server, they said, oh yeah, this is cool. We want to help. So basically, they joined the project, like different developers or students or independent IT professionals. And after 3 months, without any funding, without any external support, our community of random people, we had 413 million image text pairs. This was really, really surprising for all of us, but I think the technology was just really achievable, because like the technology that we have today, or even 2 years ago, it's already super powerful. And we were just like a bunch of people who were united by this idea that this technology should be even more accessible. And yeah, so we worked on it, and we released the 413 million image text pair dataset. It's called Lion 400M. And after this, many people came to us and said, oh, this is so cool, we want to support you. Like one company, Hugging Face, like an US-based open source company, they offered us to support us with money. And big companies like Google and Meta, they started using our data set for research and cited us in their papers. And at this point, I said, okay, we should probably register a non-profit organization, because up until this point, we were just a bunch of random people from Discord. And I personally, I have much of experience in the non-profit sector. I have been supporting a school movement in Germany for private schools, where students.
Christoph, I think the PPT is not moving. Do we have the next slide?
It's not moving. It's not moving. I'm just like staying there. Don't focus so much on the PPT.
No problem. No problem. Continue.
Yeah. So I personally, I am a teacher. I had also been studying psychology previously, and I have a strong background in supporting private schools where kids can learn things they are curious about. And I had been supervising school startups. I have been headmaster of such a school myself. And this movement that I previously built and supported was also driven by parents who don't want state schools for the kids, but who want to have schools for the kids where they can learn what they are interested in, where they can, instead of focusing on memorization, where they can focus on developing curiosity and self-efficacy, and where the individual student is in the center of like the institution and not the curriculum. And I have been building this previously before I was in AI. I made a documentary about such schools. I supported many school startups, and therefore I personally have a sound background in starting nonprofits and in grassroots communities. And so I said, yeah, let's register a nonprofit. So I have not changed the PowerPoint slide here because like I wanted to talk about this. And I think we have now a really big community of people working together over the internet on open source AI. And we have high school students, we have university professors, we have IT freelancers, we have high-tech company employees like Google employees or whatever, Meta employees or so. And all of these people are working side by side, only united by this idea that open sourcing AI would be an awesome thing, that it would be really good to have this technology, basically the ability to solve problems, to have it available to everyone and not only to big tech companies or nation states or really big agencies, but like to have it really, really easily accessible. And there are several reasons why I personally think, but why most people think that this is a really, really good idea. So recently in the Western media, and I don't know about China, but here in Germany and the US, there had been much media reports about the risks of AI. Some people like Geoffrey Hinton recently, like for example, he left Google to be able to speak freely about the risks of AI. And some people like Max Tegmark or Eliezer Yudkowsky, they said, oh, AI is so dangerous, we urgently need to regulate it. And this is in pretty extreme contrast to what most people from our community think about AI. I mean, I personally think it's good to have some kind of regulation because, I mean, everyone wants to live in a world where really bad things are regulated and where really bad things are declared illegal. But I think this is already like given by existing legal frameworks. But why are people like Geoffrey Hinton or Max Tegmark, who I personally respect, I think they are really intelligent people, but why are they afraid of AI getting too powerful, and especially about open AI? My personal view about this is that if you have a grim view of human nature, if you think that the majority of people are relatively dangerous, or if you think that maybe even like a few % of people have ill intentions and they are capable of causing severe risks, these few % of people that have like bad motives. If you have such a view of human nature, then the reasoning would be, oh yeah, if 5% or 3% of the people have bad intentions, they can use these open source AI models, or in general, they can use even closed source AI models to cause harm and to cause danger for the world. And therefore, we need to minimize the risks at any cost. And because the costs of risks could be too high for society. But if you have like a more positive view of human nature, like for example, me and many people in our community, then the reasoning is another one. The reasoning is there are risks and some people may use AI, especially open source AI. Some people may use it for bad use cases. And certainly there are a lot of bad use cases that someone can use AI for. But the majority of people is kind of decent. And some of them are maybe actually really benign and altruistic. So let's say maybe 1% or probably less than 1% of people have ill-meaning or bad-meaning motives. And maybe a few %, like maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% of all people, they have pretty good motives. They are like really decent, nice people who want to help and make the world a better place. And the majority of people, they just want to have their own real decent life, and they are not super altruistic and they are not bad. They just are interested in a really stable environment for themselves, for their kids, for their families. And if you have such a situation, like the majority of people would use increased abilities. And as I said earlier, like AI, and especially open source AI, is basically about democratizing increased abilities, democratizing the ability to draw really beautiful images with just text descriptions, democratizing to generate good texts. In the future, maybe even like democratizing the ability to control robots or to detect whatever you want to detect in the internet. And I mean, the majority of people would probably just use it to make their own lives and the lives of the people they care about better. And we have seen this in the 1990s when like many computer viruses came to the internet. And people were really scared that the internet could break down by powerful computer viruses. But nowadays, there are plenty of good antivirus programs, and almost anyone who gets a new computer also gets a new antivirus software. And I think in the future, it will be similar, that like people will have access to AI models, and they will not only use them to get themselves more power to do stuff, but also to defend themselves from effects that they don't want to have from the outside. So I have already talked about what Lion is. And so if I come back like to this year a little bit, like in Lion, we mostly have people who believe that the positive effects of AI, that like making technology accessible to the broad public, to students, to teachers, to researchers, to companies, to everyone, like just making this available, that this is a really, really good thing, and that the positive benefits of this, they outweigh by far the risks. Like, for example, people are talking nowadays a lot about all the risks that could come by, let's say, so like far away, the self-improving AI that at some point could take over the internet. But like right now, the most concrete risks through AI, I think, are misinformation and maybe surveillance. And I personally, like these risks, for me, they are really scary. They are bad risks that AI could be used for. But on the other hand, I think if this AI will be evenly democratized and more available, the positive effects for this, for, let's say, medicine, breakthroughs in medicine through, like, people are working on GPT models for DNA and stuff like AlphaFold for protein folding has led to breakthroughs already. And I'm really sure that as these systems improve, let's say, let's simply take ChatGPT. Right now, you have ChatGPT, and you can use ChatGPT nowadays to answer questions, to also access the internet. You can have plugins, and these systems like ChatGPT and GPT-4, they get better and better. And let's say I'm a medical researcher, I'm a physician, and I want to work on curing cancer. What I could do now, if I would have access to GPT-4 with access to all medical publications, I can use this as a super-powered search engine to quickly get new information of papers that I never could be reading. And of course, I cannot trust the results that GPT-4 gives me immediately, but I can double check them. And these systems, they are getting better and better every month. And I'm very sure that maybe in a few years, we will have really, really superhuman systems like these that can help researchers to really quickly get an overview about what is state of the art, make suggestions what could be worth exploring and what probably isn't worth exploring and why. And this alone, this technology alone could like really, really speed up medical research, natural science research. It will, and it probably already is, really empowering businesses, small businesses, mid-scale businesses, to write summaries of big reports, to get quick overview over what is happening in business data, to write articles. But all of this is just the beginning. This is really just the beginning. This is just what we are seeing right now. I'm personally convinced that we will see severe improvements in the capabilities of not only modeling words, like sequence learning for tokens of language. We will also see this, and we are already seeing this, in modeling sound, video, and maybe even sequences of semantic embeddings. So like clip is an example. You can take an image, you can take a text and convert the image and the text into a vector. Basically, like, I think most of the audience will probably know what a vector or what an embedding is. But for those who don't know, imagine it as a list of numbers, and the list of, let's say, 1024 numbers that you get from a big image. This list of numbers more or less contains information what is going on in the image. And if you encode an image and a text, and the image shows a dog in a park, and the text says, here you see my dog Benno running around in Central Park. And you compare the both lists of numbers, the one that you get from the image and the one that you get from the text. You can see that they are very, very similar. They are not exactly the same, but they are very similar because they encode the same semantic information in the same numerical space. And let's say we can do this in all modalities. We can take video, images, text, maybe even haptical data in the future when we get more haptical data from virtual reality or wherever. So we could take all modalities and get them all into the same semantic space. And now imagine we would do sequence modeling, predicting what is happening next. Not in the word space and not in the video space or in the pixel space. We would do it in the semantic space of ideas. So if we would train a foundation model predicting what would be happening next in the next fraction of a second, and we would give it maybe more compute than we are giving now, then I'm pretty sure we could train basic world models, like foundational world models, that later could be taken and fine-tuned for all kinds of tasks. They could not only be used for writing texts or for generating images or videos, they could probably be used for all kinds of stuff. Like they could be fine-tuned on with a decoder, with a text decoder, to become a call center agent. They could probably also be fine-tuned to become maybe a factory robot, or they could be fine-tuned to be an expert in medical research or whatever, because they have all the information from all kinds of modalities, from what is happening next in a video stream, what is happening next in an audio stream, what is happening next in a text. they could get all this information into the same semantic numerical space. And if we will get to this point, and I'm very sure, given the current rate of progress, we are already seeing the research going into this direction with models like Flamingo and LLava. There are like several open source models. One of our models is Open Flamingo, which was released recently in cooperation with University of Washington, and they will release a more powerful version pretty soon. So like research is already getting into this direction of uniting and unifying all the modalities. And as we will see in like maybe 3, 4, 5 years, these models becoming really powerful, AI will enable people to basically quickly program robots without programming skills, or it already is enabling people to code, even if they don't know how to code. Like if you try GPT-4 or Copilot, or maybe StarCoder that was recently released by Hugging Face, you can already use these models to really speed up your coding skills. And this will have like even more intense effects on our societies and communities. And I mean, if you only see the risks, there are certainly risks. There are the biggest risk, and this is a really serious risk. I don't want to be a doomsdayer now, but I want to say there are serious risks. And the most serious risk, in my opinion, is not the AI itself, but the inability by a big amount of people to quickly adapt to the changes that come from these technologies. Let's say you are working as a graphics designer and now you see Midjourney. Midjourney is this really cool text-to-image model. And you see maybe the logo here from Lion, the paw. And this paw, this was generated using Midjourney 1 year ago with a not so good version. I mean, this is already pretty cool, and we have an improved version of this in the meanwhile. But 1 year ago, we created this logo with like with a text-to-image tool. And nowadays, Midjourney version 5 is even much better. And I like, if, for example, graphics designers lose now, or will lose maybe in the near-term future, their jobs, they are concerned about their own personal job and family situation. And this, of course, is very bad for them on an individual level. But if we zoom out and look at it on a societal level, like suddenly, basically everyone can be a graphics designer. And this technology will enable like many more people to be much more creative. Maybe people who can use this to express their innermost feelings who could not do this previously. So this could be really useful in therapeutic settings. This can be very useful in entertainment settings. It can fuel the gaming industry. It can even fuel like cancer research or radiology, because like radiologists are using these models to synthetically generate cancer images from chest X-ray or whatever. Like there is research on this, or visualizing like the things people think about with magnetic resonance tomography, fMRT. All of this is relying on the same technology. And I think these technologies will lead to really big economic growth, to progress how to mitigate climate problems, pollution. They will increase fabrication, like in a few years, in 5 years or 10 years, I don't know, when we will have these really powerful foundation models that you can plug into robots and basically use them as an operating system for robots. They will really, really increase the power of companies and even like self-made makers. They will enable makers and startups and entrepreneurs to make really good products much cheaper than we are doing now. But on the other hand, like, this will be a big challenge for all the people who right now cannot adapt to this change. Like, if you're a worker in a factory and you lose this job, you might be very angry and scared by this technology. So the challenge is there for our governments and societies to figure out how to distribute wealth and to distribute the benefits of these superpowers, basically, so that the short-term losers in the long term become also winners. But again, what is Lion? Lion are people who basically share this dream that democratizing these abilities and the long-term benefits for humanity outweigh the short-term risks, because in the mid or long-term future, this could be like all countries in the world could be much more wealthy, people could live longer, we could find solutions, technological solutions to climate change, and this in return, no matter what the political system would be, would very, very, very likely lead to overall better standards of lives. And again, there are risks, and the biggest risks are people right now not being able to adapt to like a responsible use of these powers. But in my personal opinion, the much bigger risk is not a few people using this for bad stuff, but the much bigger risk is that in the end, these powers would eventually only be concentrated in a few companies or a few nation states. Like, imagine a future where only maybe the US and maybe China and maybe OpenAI, Microsoft and Google, and maybe one Chinese entity, maybe let's say Alibaba, I don't know. Let's say only these 6 or 7 big entities would have these superpowers. And everyone else would go and have to ask them, basically, like to get access to these superpowers. This would first be like a really big temptation for misuse, because if one of these entities misuses them or makes mistakes, then many, many millions or billions of people would suffer immediately. And on the other hand, the development of these technologies, they would be really slow, because no matter how good your organization is, or no matter how good your state is, it would be much better if the full scientific community, if all scientists in the world could freely access these technologies and give their feedback. Like, no matter how good a state or how smart a company, or like how much money an entity spends to hire the best talent, no matter. If you just give it to the full community of scientists and developers, you will get so much more progress. And we are seeing this right now with the open source chat models that basically, like right after ChatGPT was released, people started to work on open source chat assistants. Like in this slide, what you cannot see is Open Assistant. Open Assistant is an effort of Lion, together in cooperation with the community from Yannick Kircher. Yannick Kircher, he's a famous ML YouTuber. And when Open Assistant came out, I called Yannick because I saw that he was so excited about it. I watched a video from Yannick and I called him because I know him, I'm connected with him. So, and I told him, hey, why don't we ask our communities, you ask your community and we ask our community to basically help generating annotations. Like, people play the chatbot and the chatbot user, and then the user makes a request to a human who plays the chatbot, and the user in the role of the chatbot writes a response. And then people do this, and if we get many people, hundreds or maybe thousands of people from the communities to do this, we will get a really good instruction fine-tuning data set for GPT models. so that we can build our own ChatGPT. And we had been the first ones to really work on this. And Yannick was immediately excited, and he gathered a team of I don't know, like 20, 30 open source developers from his channel and from our server. And we made a new Discord server called Open Assistant Discord. And right now we have like several hundreds of thousands interactions with discussions, and we have like a really big data set of fine-tuning data. And after Llama from Meta AI got released, this is a really powerful foundation model for like basically GPT. People took this and fine-tuned it with our data. And if you go to the Hugging Face website, Hugging Face is this big open source company from the US, from New York. They are basically GitHub for ML models, and they have Hugging Chat. So they provide a free chat service. And in Hugging Chat, they are using the Llama version from Meta, fine-tuned on our Open Assistant dataset. And actually, this model that they are running is not even the best model at the moment. There are even much more capable models like Falcon 40 billion is another open source model that recently came out, and I have seen some results. So if you fine-tune it on the highest rated 10,000 interactions from our Open Assistant dataset, then you get a really strong model. I have seen like, I think it's almost on par, or maybe even in some applications better than the current standard ChatGPT that you get if you make a free account on OpenAI. It's not as good as GPT-4, I'm very sure, but it's really good compared to the standard free version that you get, or like that you got maybe 6 months ago before GPT-4 was released. So like this technology is already there. You can already download a model, an open source model, that is almost as good as the initial ChatGPT, or maybe even a little bit better in some cases. You can download it. You can fine-tune it on a few GPUs. Like I think you can even use the newest tricks like adapters or QLoRa or whatever. I don't want to go into this. But you can use this to fine-tune it on one high-end H100 GPU. And you can deploy it on one H100 or one A100 with 80 GB VRAM. You can deploy it. And this is so much more accessible. And I think that this is really going to change our world, and it's already changing our world. But this is just the beginning. This is not the end. This is not like these foundation models will work on all kinds of modalities. And I am personally convinced that they will not take pixels and audio waves and tokens. They will in the end take some kind of latent representation. I'm not sure about how this will be realized with the technical details. Lots of research and engineering is needed for this. But in the end, they will take basically a stream of ideas, and they will model a stream of ideas. What will happen next in this situation? What will happen next in this situation? Yeah, and people from our community, they are random people. We have high school students. We even had a high school student who trained some stuff on a supercomputer. And the entry barrier for joining our community is really low. So like how it works is people come to our Discord server, people talk about projects that are ongoing. Most projects are openly discussed in some channels. If you have good ideas, you can just suggest them. You can say, hey, I have this code, or I have this idea, like maybe can I get some GPUs, or maybe is someone interested in collaborating on this? And other people will pick up on it, and they will work together and form something like a work group. And then at some point, someone else might come and say, yeah, I know a company, they have idle compute. They have GPUs, they don't need it at the moment, or sometimes they have times where the GPUs are not used. So we can get you access. So like the flow from GPU resources that are not used at the moment to people who would need them and who have good ideas, but who cannot afford GPUs, the flow is really quick. It's really easy. So like if you have like a big company with hierarchies and people are paid for doing it, and they have a boss or a superior, then the people, they are scared of making a mistake. They are scared of, oh, if I propose a project that my superior does not like, maybe I could get some problems, or maybe I could not get promoted. And all of this is not existent in our community, because like the vast majority, like even me, I'm not getting paid. I'm still a high school teacher. I have to say, I have turned down personally well-paid job offers from technology companies. And I have turned down venture capital investors. Like we regularly had venture capital firms coming to us, like offering multi-million-dollar budgets for, they basically wanted us to build an advertisement company for like Open Assistant or whatever. And I told them, no, thank you. We are grateful for coming to us, but we are not interested. What we are interested in is we want to make these superpowers that will arise in the next years. We want to make sure that they are available to all of humanity, and not to build the next best advertisement company. Because like, I mean, in Germany, for me personally, I have tenure, so I cannot lose my job. And the salary for teachers in Germany is relatively good. So I'm getting almost the same salary that an assistant professor would get at a university in Germany. Not as much, but very close. So I can provide for my family. And my personal priority is not getting rich. My personal priority is to make sure that if there will be a future with these super powerful AIs in the future, it is not centralized to a few governments or a few companies, but it is widely accessible so that all of humanity, no matter where, no matter are they in Africa or in the Philippines or in China or in the US or in Germany, everyone can really directly benefit from it and gets empowered through this technology and not controlled. I think, yeah, what is in the making currently is like, I will talk about this a little bit. I want to say like this is a really central point. Again, like I have been talking a lot about the consequences of technology and not about the concrete implementation. But I think this is really important, because these visions, this understanding of why are we doing this, this is really important for motivating and connecting people. And again, I think the focus of this technology should not be on making this company or this country more capable. It should be on making the individual people on this planet, the individuals, more capable, so that they are more capable in mitigating risks if there are bad actors in the internet, so that the individual people will have small AI models on their devices to protect them, to filter out content they personally do not like, and at the same time to make the individual people and the small companies all over the world more capable in generating positive impact. So instead of minimizing risks, increase digital resiliency, make people more capable to deal with the risks of tomorrow that no one knows about right now. If you focus on getting risks low, if you want to control everything, everyone, and every risk, and make sure no one is doing anything bad, then you are completely stuck in the present and in the past, because you're worried all the time about the risks from the past and from the present. But instead, instead of like doing these things that have like severe costs, like you have to monitor people. This is no one likes this, I guess. So instead of doing this, our approach is make people more capable to deal themselves, be more powerful, more capable to deal themselves with the risks of tomorrow, and make companies more capable to deal with the risks of tomorrow. So what is in the making, to come back to concrete stuff that we are concretely working on with Lion at the moment? So I've talked about Open Flamingo. Yeah, so there will be like from the University Washington group that is also like aligned to our community. There will be an Open Flamingo, like where you have a language model that can take not only text but also images and reason about images and texts in conjunction. Open Clip is improving these clip models that can basically convert images and texts into the same semantic idea space, I would say, into the same semantic numerical space. We want to do the same for audio and for video. We have people working on these projects. But I think the most important project we are currently working on with the most long-term effect is the so-called big interleaved data set. And the big interleaved data set, I think I have been talking already a lot. I'm looking at the, I have been talking a lot. So I will wrap it up quickly. The big interleaved data set is basically the idea: take many billions of documents from the internet, filter out all the garbage, get rid of all the HTML code and get only the good text, and then find in between the texts, text one, like for example, like the first part of a text, then you have an image link. And then you have again some text and again an image link. And then you maybe have like a video link and some text and an audio link. So basically what Flamingo would take as input, Flamingo is also trained on text, image, text, image, text, image. But we want to get it for text, image, text, video, text, audio. So we have all four modalities: text, video, audio, and images. And we want to get it for full of common crawl, which is a lot. So in the end, we would probably have something like hundreds of billions of images. And I don't know, depending on the quality we want, probably, I hope we can get close to 1 billion audio text pairs and video text pairs, or maybe more, we have to see. But I think this data set is really important because other research labs, big tech companies, they do not like to work on data sets because first, researchers don't find this exciting. And secondly, if you have these large scale web data sets, it can be a little bit tricky PR-wise for these big data sets, because like if you have billions of images, most of them, they are just boring or whatever, but sometimes you have some like porn in it or unwanted content. And we filter out the really, really bad stuff, but we do not filter out stuff like porn or violence most of the times. We only provide safety tags, but like scorings. We have our own non-suitable for work models. Why do we not filter it out? Because it can be used to train better safety tools and to train better clip models. Like, for example, these clip models, if you do not train them on non-suitable for work, then you cannot use it later to detect non-suitable for work. But we have really good detectors for non-suitable for work that help us to make text-to-image models safe, because we trained the original open clip model on non-suitable for work data. So later it knows this and it can later quickly detect it. So yeah, this is what we're doing. And I think like there are many, many cool like language model ideas or ideas for clip, etc. This all is really cool and exciting. But I think the most lasting effect for other like tech companies and research labs in the end probably will have this big interleaved data set, because not many organizations are working on this. And data that does not get really old. Data can be even really useful if the algorithms themselves completely change in 1 or 2 years. If you want to connect with us, you can come to our public Discord channel. You can send us an email. You can go to our website with lots of information. And as an end, I would say, like, imagine a future where companies and nation states, they all flourish because the employees and the citizens flourish. So the focus should not be on making companies powerful, on nation states powerful, and let them control everyone. No, no, no. The future should be, in my opinion, in our vision, to make the citizens themselves capable, resilient, to empower them, so that, like, as a consequence, the companies and the nation states and the whole infrastructure around them, they benefit from them, from more happier citizens, from citizens and companies that pay more taxes, from like overall society being more resilient and more capable. Imagine a future where people and companies and nation states all together like flourish because they have the open source AI superpowers to solve problems really well and to reduce scarcity. Because I'm very confident that even if there is divide right now between nation states for political reasons, if we would reduce the overall scarcity on the world, like if there would be less hunger and less fear of economic displacement, if we would get, like, in general, the people to feel much better about the families, about the individual futures, about their bread and their entertainment and everything, if the people would feel much more relaxed and better, then this would indirectly, for sure, reduce the tensions between companies and states and makes this world a better one. Yeah. Hello? Are you still there?
Hi. Thanks a lot for the very fruitful and thoughtful speech. As a member of the AI community, I have a few questions. Firstly, as the founder of Lion, have you encountered any difficult problems and challenges in the beginning of the founding of such a wonderful organization? And what was it like at the very beginning? What are the stories behind it? Like the very initial stories, how you came up with the idea, etc.
Yeah, so in the beginning, actually, the problems were pretty low. It was so easy. We were just at the right time in the right place. It was just me, a high school teacher who is excited about AI. And I was looking at DALL-E 1. And I had this idea, like, could we replicate it? I went to another Discord server, Eluther AI. This is also an open source community. And I asked people, and they told me, yeah, some programmers, like someone who is called Lucid Reigns, this is his GitHub handle. He is working on an open source version of DALL-E 1 on the DALL-E training code. And then the question was, okay, where could we get training data? And then I just started to work on it, as I already told, like getting image text pairs from Common Crawl and starting really small. And because so many people were excited about it, they just joined and they just wanted to contribute to this project. And a little bit later, I learned about a group from the Jülich Supercomputing Center, led by Genya Jitsev. He's a lab leader there. And they were thinking also about replicating DALL-E 1, like training this on a supercomputer, a European supercomputer. But they did not have the data. And we were working on the data. So I thought, yeah, okay, yeah, we happen to have 400 million image text pairs, and they had to compute, so we connected. And out of this synergy, we later decided, a little bit later, a few weeks later, we decided to form this nonprofit. And this was basically a few people talking over Zoom, filling out some paper sheets, and there was Lion.
Okay, so the second question is, I wonder what is the original intention of yours doing this like open source data set? Is there like, I heard a previous interview of you with Bloomberg, and you said you said that like in between data security and the development of AI, you choose the latter one. What do you think about the data, the safety of the data set?
Yeah, we care a lot about the safety from the beginning. We have lots of safety scores, so we try to filter out at the initial, like right after downloading, we do some checks for like obviously illegal content. And so we score it for non-suited for work, like porn stuff, etc. And we score it also for like vulnerable groups. And if we, for example, have like if there is a moderate, like at least moderate probability that there could be non-suited for work content and content from a vulnerable group, then we drop it immediately and get rid of it. But on the top of this, we developed our own non-suited for work detectors, and we cooperated with safety researchers from the Technical University of Darmstadt to incorporate their violence detectors. So we have like several scores for all our data points. And this is, from my experience, much more high quality than what we get if like other tech companies release something. So if Google releases a data set, we do not get non-suited for work detectors, we do not get the scores, we do not get this level of safety details. On the other hand, like people have been talking us, like the classical complaint is artists come to us and say, hey, your data, your images are in my personal images are in your data set. This is the most trouble recently for us, but actually it is not really trouble because the legal situation is very clear. The people, the artists, they took their photos or their images and they put it in the public internet. And if you put something on a public website to make, like to be visible there for your art or your business or whatever, then you have to be okay with research organizations downloading and analyzing them. And this is what we did. So I understand that if you are a photographer or if you are an artist and you see these models like Midjourney or Stable Diffusion, that they are getting better and better and they are a threat to your profession, that this could be scary. Oh, 1 second. This could be scary for you on a personal level. I completely understand this. I completely get this. But the problem is not our data set. The problem is that the internet is completely full with image text pairs. And even if our data set was not there, other companies, I am damn sure that OpenAI and Midjourney and other companies, they can easily replicate our work and keep it closed. So if OpenAI trains on billions of images and does not say about it anything, in my opinion, this is a much bigger security risk than our dataset being openly available for criticism, because only if you can criticize this and analyze the content of the internet transparently, only then you can start publicly to mitigate safety and privacy concerns. If it's not accessible for the ordinary researcher and only behind the secret hidden doors of big tech companies, then you cannot even start talking about data security. You just have to use the API. This is much bigger security risk, in my opinion.
Right, exactly. If we don't have the process, then there is no meaning or point in data safety. I actually agree with you on that point. Can you tell us more about like your talk with the founder of Stability AI? I remember there's like some anecdotal stories.
Yeah.
Could you
so
share
basically,
yeah.
Basically, he came to our Discord server like anyone else in late 2021. And we were already 70% done with Lion 5 billion. And he just said, hey, yo, I'm a former hedge fund manager. I want to go into AI and I want to support open source AI because I think this is the future. And we said, really? So we didn't believe him. We were thinking he's like just a random guy, like bragging. And he told me, no, yeah, I want to support organizations like you. I will give you GPUs if you want. And we said, okay. So he gave us 8 A100s GPUs. He gave us the access keys a little bit later. And we used it to finish our data set a little bit faster, but we would have finished it otherwise anyway. And yeah, so he kept providing us with hardware, like cloud hardware. He just gave us access keys. There was no money flow or so. He chatted with me. I chatted with him on Discord about, I don't know, my kids, his kids, family, blah, blah, like just like a chat interaction. And we exchanged opinions, and then he kept sending us access keys because he was convinced that what we are doing is really cool. And so we could later use this to train OpenClip. So when he was starting his company and building a supercomputer cluster on AWS, he was looking for some people who could help him with this. And one from our community, Richard Venku, at this point, he just lost his job because he was spending so much time on Lion and not really working on his old job anymore. So his company got annoyed and kicked him out for not working for his old job enough. And he was a little bit sad, and he had like a back injury at this time, and he was a little bit desperate. And I told him, don't worry, you're a cool guy. I just asked Imad if he maybe would hire you. And so, Imad, who was looking for a supercomputing expert, he hired him, Richard Venku. And then now he's running basically the supercomputer at Stability. He is still a member of Lion, but like this is formally separated, and he is very careful to not take party for Lion or for Stability. He's trying to be neutral with everything. So he's doing only a technical job executing what other people are telling him, basically. But this is like an example, like the interconnection between members of our community has a really low entry barrier, and the flow of information and the flow of opportunities is really fast. In big university labs or in company labs, there is many times I have heard from researchers that it's hard because if you want to release something, you have to go to the legal team, or you have to get approval for spendings, or you have to see if other co-workers are okay with what you want to do. But in our community, you just go and say, hey, I have this idea. Is there anyone who wants to support me? And many people may agree or may be interested in other stuff. And many people may disagree, or many people may be interested in other stuff. But if there are only a few people who want to contribute, then they can join and quickly, instantly, within one day, within 1 hour, just start working on it. And this is basically the magic of open source. So many people join, united by this one shared dream without this bureaucracy.
So I wonder, what's it like a better way to like generate, to revitalize all these people together from universities, organizations, from big tech companies, to all believe in this idea and to do effort like in this process? Like sometimes they have different goals, how to align all their goals.
I think, look, it's a little bit similar to my experiences with education. So if you tell a student, you have to learn this fact and this mathematical skill and nothing else, then the student learns exactly this, like supervised learning if with ImageNet. Then you have a model that can learn ImageNet classes prediction, but it cannot do anything else really well, maybe with some fine-tuning, but yeah. So you have a very narrow expertise in one singular domain. But if you allow people to freely, without much pressure, to come and basically to explore what seems interesting to them at this moment, if you give them the ability to explore, to play with different solutions without the fear of not being good enough or doing the wrong thing, then they are much more flexible and much more creative. And this is basically what is happening with us. So if you would ask me, what could a big tech company do to make their researchers more productive and more creative, I would say, take pressure from them and incentivize them to come to these communities and to play basically with what they think, with like basically empower the people instead of trying to push them even harder into one narrow direction. Because if you push researchers or engineers into one direction, then you get exactly what you want, but nothing else, and you cannot know in advance what you might want 1 month or 1 year from now.
Cool. So maybe let's talk a little bit more about yourself. I read your bio, and you actually learned some like professional acting in your career.
Yeah.
Like that's really interesting. I mean, that's like so far away from what you're doing right now. What do you think like this experience helps you with your career later on?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like, so me personally, in my education, I have always tried to pursue what I found interesting. So like when I was a high school student, I was really excited about science fiction, and I always wanted to build like androids like Star Trek, Commander Data, but the time wasn't ready for this. And later I fell in love with a girl who was in the theater club in my high school, and I was also interested in filmmaking, and I somehow wanted to impress her, so I joined this theater club. And I got more and more interested in acting and filmmaking. So I, after school, already in the last years of high school, I was really involved in lots of like independent filmmaking and reading a lot about psychology and about camera and this stuff. And I started working on like acting. So I went to several like acting seminars and an acting school later. And I just like did this. I did like a really broad exploration of different subjects at this time, even though my friends and like also my family were a little bit concerned that I'm wasting my time and my money because I'm not instantly going for one good job. but I said, yeah, I don't care. It's my life and I want to explore the world. So I did this. And in this time, I learned a lot about like psychology and about myself, about how to deal with my own like emotions and anxiety, how to make myself efficient when I want to focus on something, and what I actually want in life. Because many people who get out of school, get into university, they get all the time, the whole life being told what they should do. Like there's always a teacher or a boss or a professor who tells them you should do this, you should do this. And even though if you become really educated and good at doing what the superior wants, you do not, maybe you do not get really good at finding out what you self want and what would be the best thinking by yourself. So what I did personally in my life, I didn't listen so much to the teachers and the parents and the professors. I basically did what I wanted to do and what I thought was good. And this led me to study acting a lot. And at some point, I decided that if I want to have a family in the future, acting would not be a good career to sustain a financially secure future for my family. And so I decided to study something more conventional. So I studied psychology for 1 year. And studying psychology like was really interesting and really easy also, because like, to be honest, most of the psychology studies in the conventional university at this time was about just memorizing statistics and memorizing studies and results. And I was shocked how easy this was, because like after studying acting, I was really good at memorizing stuff. So I got like 1A after the other. And I thought, oh, this is not intelligent. This is just like memorizing stuff. So after a few years, like I decided, okay, yeah, maybe I should do something else, because I don't want to be a therapist or a psychology researcher. Because if I'm a therapist later, I will always have to listen to people who have problems, and this will be very negative for myself. I don't want to do this. I want to do something cool and exciting. And I was like considering several jobs. And as I already told you, in Germany, teachers, high school teachers, can get tenure. So this means you get a pretty good salary, like upper middle class. You could even argue lower upper class. I don't know. Like it's pretty good. It's a good salary to have to provide for one family, and you cannot get fired. So basically, you have like a lifelong work opportunity and plenty of free time. And I was thinking, yeah, okay, maybe I should just do this. Maybe I should just like study physics and computer science for teaching, because there's always a shortage of computer science and physics teachers, because most people who study physics or computer science, they want to go into research or they want to make a career in industry or so, but most of them, they don't want to deal with high school teenagers. So there is a shortage. And I was thinking, okay, if I have like a degree in computer science and physics as a teacher, I will always get a job. I will easily get a job. I can even like go 3 years and go acting and like quit everything, say, oh, I will just sit at home for 3 years with my kids. And if I come back, I will get a job 100%. And when I have a lifelong contract, I will not lose it. So I was thinking about this. I was thinking, okay, yeah, I have studied acting. I have half a bachelor's degree in psychology, and psychology is really easy for me at this point, because I was already very good at controlling my emotions. I had no problem sitting there studying 10 hours a day, even without, there was no pressure. I was not pressured by anyone, but like I just felt, okay, yeah, if I go to the university, to the library, and I study for 12 hours, like the most mistakes that the other students are making, they're pressuring themselves. Oh, I need to study, I need to study. And I was thinking, oh, this is so crazy. Why are these people so cruel to themselves? I was thinking, no, I can study for 30 minutes and then I do some relaxation exercise. I go maybe feed some birds, listen to some music, think about a bright future, how I'm going to be like a cool whatever actor. So, and then when I'm relaxed, I return and I will study another 30 or 40 minutes. And then when I feel that I'm exhausted, I will make a break and think about how I'm going to be the next Brad Pitt or Steven Spielberg and motivate myself. And I was really good at doing this. And because I was good at doing these pauses and dealing with my emotions, I could sit there like 16 hours a day in the library without getting tired, because I was so good at dealing with stress. And I was actually motivated because I had an idea, even if it was an unrealistic idea. I had learned how to control myself emotionally so that I would actually want to study instead of pressuring myself. And at this point, I decided to switch from psychology to physics computer science, because I was thinking, okay, if I get a good degree in physics computer science, first, this is interesting to me anyway, because as a high school teenager, I was anyway interested in the subjects. And secondly, when I get this, I will have a really family-friendly, really good job that will allow me to pursue whatever I want to do in lots of free time later. And so this is what I did. And when I did this, like after I was finished, I spent lots of time doing, so I was really into amateur boxing. So I did heavyweight boxing a lot. And I worked like on a few, boxing, like heavyweight boxing, like pruning my neural networks. I did lots of boxing.
I really want to ask, like, how can you like, it's really amazing to remain being a high school teacher. Like, I mean, no offense to being teachers. I mean, how do you decide to keep working as a high school teacher while you already put a lot of effort into Lion? Maybe you, in the future, you could do full-time, or maybe be hired by some other tech firms.
Yeah, it's easy. I could do it like this, but I don't want to. There's no reason.
You don't want to. You like kids.
I honestly, like, people constantly come to me, but I don't see much reason to do this.
You have 2 kids, right?
I have 2 kids, yeah.
Maybe earn more money to maybe be hired by like the tech firm and have high salary to make more money for the kids.
Yeah, but look, listen. I already have sufficient money to live a good life. Okay? So my money, so look, I'm at the moment making a little bit less after taxes, like a little bit, like 4,800 euro. So like a little, like maybe 4,500, like, yeah, that's good. And I'm paying for the rent. We have a nice house. We are renting a house in the outskirts of Hamburg. So I'm paying like a little bit more than 2,000 euros. So for everything else, I have like 2,500 euros. My wife is also working. She is not making as much money as me, but like she's also making some money. She is a teacher for Ukraine refugees here in Hamburg. She's from Russia, so she can teach Ukrainian refugees. And so like we have enough money to just live a life where we can come home after work, relax, forget work, go to the supermarket, buy whatever we want. 2 or 3 times a year, we can do a nice holiday. Everything's fine. The kids are happy. So for me, and I cannot lose this job. I have a guarantee by the state to keep this job unless I got sentenced for longer than 1 year for anything really bad. Unless I don't do anything really stupid, I will not lose it. I can be sure that I can keep this lifestyle for like as long as I live. It's even like in the constitution of like Germany for state employees to keep these privileges. So this means I have no pressure. And if I would get like, for example, that let's imagine that like some company, some tech company, Microsoft, whatever, they would come to me and say, Christoph, we will double your salary and you can come to us and you can get a big supercomputing cluster to do whatever you like. Then I would think about it and say, so I would say, okay, I might get twice as much money, but I would have to pay more taxes. So in the end, I would not get twice the money. Okay, let's say after taxes, and let's say they give me 3 times the money, and in the end I would like have like 10,000 after taxes. Let's say they give me a really good salary and I would have $10,000 or euro after taxes. Let's say, but would my personal well-being, would my kids get happier? No, my kids, they like this house. Even if I could instantly go to LA or to Silicon Valley and I would get a big mansion, my kids would not want this because they have friends in the neighborhood.
Exactly.
They are happy.
Wow.
They are happy because they can meet on the weekend and ask their friends to come over for like sleeping here and playing with them together Minecraft until 1 a.m. and like just hanging around and getting tickled by me and having fun and going to the cinema. This is what makes them happy. They don't want to be in Los Angeles. They don't want to be in whatever. They want to have a mansion. They want to have like a parent who has time and attention for them. And therefore, like if I would take a big, well-paid job, I would have to give up my tenure. I would lose the security, the job security. I would lose it because if I would be working for this big tech company, after 1 year, they could, for whatever reason, just kick me out. And I would have to move back to Hamburg. And I would have lost my job guarantee. So, okay, some people are saying, oh, Christoph, why don't you do like a PhD and then try to become a professor at least? So, okay, I'm considering maybe doing a PhD because I have some publications and it would probably be relatively easy to find a good supervisor and just take all the publications I have to summarize them and write them up and make like an easy dissertation out of it, a pretty good easy dissertation. Maybe I will do this at some point, but I'm thinking why? Because like, so the reasoning is you do your dissertation, then you like get good work experience and publications, and then you can become a professor. And when you are a professor, you get tenure and you get a secure job and you can manage many, many other researchers in your team to help you with your research. And then you can do really even bigger research. This is the whole logic between this reasoning, right? Am I correct? This is the like, but the thing is, I already on the Discord server have dozens, hundreds, thousands of people who want to contribute. So I don't need to be a professor to supervise others. And it's the opposite. Yeah. I have some projects that I'm leading that I'm telling people like, can you do this? Can you do this? Where like university professors like are cooperating with me or sometimes even are asking me for my advice, for my supervision. So I'm supervising partly university professors who went this whole track to climb the academic ladder, and I'm like giving my advice. And in the end, they are grateful for my advice and working together collaboratively on these projects. So there is absolutely no need because I don't need tenure. I have tenure. I don't need to be a professor to have a team because I already have teams. And I don't even need a company, like I don't even need to be an employee of a company to get access to the supercomputer because there are several companies and public supercomputers who already are accessible to our community. And if I want, let's say, if I have a project and I need 100,000 A100 hours, there are already several options that I can do. I can go to several companies that I know and just tell them, hey, we want to build this cool open source project. And all we need is 100,000 hours. Can you please support us? And if I can frame this request in a way that benefits the company, so that the company can say, oh, wow, yeah, this will be really good for us because it supports us in our own mission. Yeah. But it's still at the same time good research and it's still at the same time a really good open source project for the open source community and for the research community, then there is a win-win situation at this point. And this is much easier than being in a corporate company and doing all the requests up the ladder.
Yes, exactly. So back to Lion, you take zero salary from this project, right?
Yeah, I don't take any salary and I don't want.
What about the others? They all like kind of volunteer to this
Yeah,
project?
all. We have this policy, we don't hire people. We don't pay people, because if you start paying people, then there will be this discussion. How much should the
really
high
amazing.
school student get? How much
So-
should the we have senior Google engineers who would get like, I don't know what they get, but I guess they would get like something like $20,000 a month or whatever. Like, we could never pay this, and we don't want to pay this, because already they are working side by side with high school students for no salary.
So what are the way forward? Like if we push Lion forward in the future, what are the plans? The future perspective?
Yeah, so as I was told, in the short-term future, we are working on this big interleaved data set. Basically have a data set that connects data from all modalities, like speaking text, image, video, and audio, in a meaningful interleaved way, so that we can train foundation models on them. Not we, but scientists from all over the world, from the US, from Europe, from China, everyone can train foundation models on them. And so this is basically the short term, what I think is important. But in the midterm and long term, I think what I personally have been pushing for is to get these clip models, to extend them to all kinds of modalities, so that we have image, text, text, audio, text, video, and maybe in the future it would be really good to have text, video, and video, audio. I actually, honestly, I think the most interesting thing about clip would be to have a really powerful audio video clip, where we could get like audio and video into the same semantic space without the need for text annotations, simply because there is so much data available in the internet for audio and video. The problem with this is dealing with video is computationally expensive, and video and audio has lots of noise. So there's lots of frames that are close to each other that are redundant. And with audio also, you have lots of blank and like lots of noisy data. So I think option one, someone comes up with a really good algorithm to do this in a hierarchical order, to first take the noisy redundant stuff and compress it into a less noisy data, and then do the contrastive learning on this. Or we figure out long attention, and then we train just on really long sequences and let the transformer or the whatever architecture, like maybe transformer will be uncool soon, I don't know, but let the sequence model, this encoder, let it figure out itself how to deal with the noise and the redundancy. So, and this will probably take lots of compute, but I think the main bottleneck for this is simply people who are interested in working on this. I mean, if we would have a few people who would be working on training code and doing a proof of concept with a robust code base, then we could get like compute to scale this increasingly up. And I think, like, imagine we could train like a clip, like a contrastive learner, on video and audio, and we can train it on a whole of YouTube, basically, on, I don't know, billions, hundreds of billions of videos. Then it would get the audio and the video domain very, very close into the same semantic space. And later you could freeze the audio encoder and the video encoder, and you can fine tune it with a text encoder, maybe with even a pre-trained text encoder to get the text encoder into the same space. So you could basically get the text video model or the text audio model almost for free by leveraging the representations you can.
Like, where do you get this, like, audio text? I mean, text, I know. What about audio or video data?
Audio video data is like easy. You can just take like each video usually comes with audio, so you just can download YouTube links and or whatever like other videos are on the internet. The other thing is like what is a little bit more tricky is like video text pairs. Like let's say you want 1 billion video text pairs. But this is also like not so hard, and we are working on this. So if anyone is interested in video text pairs, come to our Discord channel. So the idea is what we are doing for the big interleaf data set. We take a document, and we have text, 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 and then we have a video, and text, text, text. We take the video, we download it, we cut it into segments of, let's say 10 seconds. Then we detect perspective changes. So like, is there a camera cut or whatever? If there is a cut, then we split it. This is easy. This can be done with visual hashing of images or whatever. And then we take the longest sequence from these 10 seconds. So let's say in the end, we get 7 seconds or 6 seconds of video. And then we take each second one frame each second. And then we make a clip image embedding of each frame. So we have image embeddings. Where do we get the text? We go to the surrounding text, because if there's a video, probably in the surrounding area, we have text. And then we take 2 grams, 3 grams, 4 grams, like pairs of four words that are in the surrounding text. We extract it, all combinations of all kinds of words, word segments, sentence parts. And then we filter it with a perplexity model, like a simple model that tells us how much does this text look like a good English sentence, or whatever. You can get like these models, like ngram models, like word frequency models, that simply give you a score. How much does this chunk of words look like a good text? And then you can easily, cheaply get rid of most of the bad candidates. And in the end, you have maybe 10 or 15 candidate captions.
Sorry to interrupt. There's a, like, speaking of text, we know the Open Assistant program. There's a question from the audience. What is the future incentive of this Open Assistant project?
I don't understand.
Open Assistant, the name of the project. Like, where does it lead to, like the future plans and future goals?
Yes, so right now, like we already have a pretty nice instruction data set. Right now, the team is focusing on getting long context to work so that the discussions can be referring to what had been happening long ago. And they are also trying to keep things going to improve the overall quality. And yeah, this is mainly the focus right now. They want to train, they want to fine tune with the existing data, bigger models, make them more capable. I personally, I would hope to go the project a little bit more later, maybe, to go into the direction of multimodal instructions, so that you have like not only text, but also images in the text. And you have the user asking complex, creative questions about the images, not the standard questions, like there are some visual question answering data sets. They are all pretty boring. They are just like, how many cats do you see, or whatever, like, or this is easy, but maybe something more creative, like if you see a picture of a kitchen, then can you come up with a really delicious and cheap meal that I could make with all the things that you can see in the picture that I can finish in less than 30 minutes. So like questions like this. So this would be interesting, I guess. And retrieval.
I think time is ticking, so it's already 1 hour and 40 minutes, and maybe let's come to a final question, which also concerns BAI community. With you, like, what is like your impression of China, and do you hope to cooperate with Chinese researchers in terms of like open source data, whatever, in the future?
Yeah, this is a really good question. So I'm happy and grateful for everyone who comes genuinely with the intention to make open source AI better, to with this dream to make the world a better place and to empower the people in the world who comes to our server. I'm grateful for this. If you ask me about China and Chinese citizens, I have to admit I have a little bit mixed feelings, because like here in the West, I'm a Western citizen, so like some things that we hear about China are controversial, like about, for example, the potential of human rights violations or so. And of course, this concerns me. I think like we as Lion, we would not cooperate with any state entity, or like, for example, Huawei recently reached out to us to cooperate with that. And we said, no, we won't. For several political reasons, we will not cooperate with you. But what we can do, like what we can do, if like a Chinese citizen comes to us upright with the intention to make open source better, to empower the world, to empower all the people, then, I mean, of course, there are risks from AI. And there are also bad things that can be done with open source AI. But my personal belief, and this is a genuine belief without any like political or monetary incentives, that the majority of use cases are positive in the long run. In the long run, this will be very, very positive. And I think, like, imagine a future where all citizens in China and in Europe and in the US, everywhere, will be much more productive. And the scarcity in the world, the scarcity for food, for job security will be much less, because overall, everyone will be more capable and more productive. And if we can use open source AI to move into such a future, then I think that the tension, the fear, the hate, the need to control the population or whatever, this will go down in the long run. Because, I mean, let's not talk about China. Let's talk about like thought experiment. Let's say you have like a state where you try, like, let's say the state tries to control all the people to become like really good workers, to work really hard and to give really good job performance and don't do anything bad. And if you try to do this, then you could use AI for this. But the thing is, if AI in the long run will be more capable in executing all these tasks, if at some point, like, you could use the AI you used to control the people, you could use it directly to perform the work. So why don't you need the perp to control the people? So then you would have to decide, do we want to get rid of all these lazy people because they never can be as productive as AI? Or do you want to say, oh no, we have these people. These people are the state. Our state is not machines. Our state is about people. So we can use these machines to make the life better, to make the quality better, to take the pressure off, to make the people study not harder, but less, to make the people not work harder, to make them be more relaxed, to spend more time with the kids, to spend more time with their friends. Like, to like the reasoning, like there is no, it doesn't make sense to push the people even harder if the AI gets more productive than the people at some point. You know, you get it?
Yes. So ultimately, you think that the ultimate drive of this open source goal or this idealistic goal can make the world a better place, right?
Yeah.
So
like yeah, look, I've been talking to a Chinese researcher recently, like who lives in the US, and he told me he's concerned about people in mainland China because some of his friends, researchers, they are working so hard. They have this 996 or whatever, and they are working so hard and they are so burned out. And I told him, yeah, this is really concerning. But to think, like, imagine at some point, if we would really have human level AI that is smarter than the researchers, then there would be no sane reason anymore to push the people so hard, because AI could do it better anyway.
Exactly. I think 996 workers, like, we cared more about houses, about cars, about how to raise kids in the best school around the area. So that's probably the ultimate goal for these kind of people, right? So you're absolutely above all of them, I think, from this point of view.
Yeah,
so,
Lion is not about making Germany or China or the US or any company, Microsoft or Google. We do not want to make any company or state better or more capable than the others. We want to equalize this power so that everyone, the citizens, you, me, everyone, our kids, they will become more powerful, more resilient to risks. They will be more powerful to live a better life equally, to distribute these abilities all over humanity. This is the idea. This unites us all.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And I think the difference is about how to define a better life. What's a better life for the kids? Do they have to go to US, go to Silicon Valley to work, to receive those like Ivy School education? Is that the definition of better life? I totally agree with you. I think I get your point on that part. So it's really touching, I think, for me. So I think maybe next time you can come offline to our community and to our building, and we can pay your trip so we can have a more vivid discussion offline next time. What do you think?
Yeah, so honestly, I have to see on a case-by-case basis, because recently I traveled to some talks, and I feel my kids, they just want to have, like, they want me to stay home and play with them. I recently canceled several invitations to conferences, so even though I would have gotten all the payment, like the costs. I mean, but I want to just be home with my kids. I want to go down to my kids. My son he's waiting downstairs. I told him I have a conference talk here. My 7-year-old son, he's waiting. He wants to play Minecraft with me. He wants to go to the swimming pool with me. And this is, I mean, like, I cannot go if I would like, I could go every weekend or every second weekend somewhere and would have to pay nothing. But then I wouldn't live there anymore for my kids. My kids are my number one priority in my life is and will always be my kids.
I understand.
This is what I'm doing right now. I believe in it. I really love it, but it's a hobby.
Understand. You need more time with the kids. Let's wrap up again for such a interesting and fruitful and even moving talk by Christoph Schumann. I think what Lion does really is what really moves this world forward. Like, it's not only this mundane life about making money, about whatever. It's more about making AI more accessible by everyone. So I think I totally agree with you on that part. Thanks again for the interesting talk, and maybe see you next time offline.
Yeah.
Or
Bye bye.
bye. Thank you again.
Bye bye.